Hi, this is Roman, and today I'm going to be sharing a routine that you can incorporate in your lessons. This routine is centered around error analysis, and this is a template that you can choose to use in your classrooms. So we'll notice here that I have a little emoji with an upset face, and I have a model example that is done incorrectly. So here I have written that Jessica solved the similarity problem incorrectly, right? And we have the original problem below. You'll notice a worked out example. In this case, we have a triangle similarity question where correspondence is important. So we might be asking the students what's going on with the correspondence that's listed there. And really, we even have the mapping onto symbol that we could discuss. Clearly, we have a red box here marking that it's wrong and even an X, right? So we also have a ratio here, two fractions that are set equal to each other that we can analyze, right? So we're looking at the correspondence, we're looking at the corresponding segments, and the corresponding angles together, right? And students are really analyzing this. So in this model, you do want students to differentiate between what's going on that is correct in this question and then what's going on where students may have taken a misstep. One great resource that I am going to mention here is if we go to geometry regions and if we click an exam and we go to model response set, we might want to take a look at model responses that do not get the full score. So here we have a few perfect scores. And if I keep going down here, I'll have a score of a 1 with a certain misconception. So here's an area that you can pull from for these activities if you don't want to create something from scratch. And these model exemplars from the Regents websites do have some misconceptions that are worth going over in terms of using this error analysis protocol. So as we go back here, right, we have a few prompts for students to think about, really guiding them through the error analysis here, right? So in my sample, I chose what sides did Jessica say correspond with each other? And then how do you find corresponding sides of similar triangles? So two questions that really allow students to think through the question. And this is something that you might want to collaborate with a colleague on to really hone in on what questions make the most sense for the standard and topic that you are going over. So as students dive deep on this question and you give them some time to analyze the error and go through this error analysis question, the next step is going to be to give them a turn, right? And I would say in terms of time, maybe anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes for students to dive into the error analysis and go over it as a class, allowing for some peer-to-peer discourse. So after they do that, you're going to push for them to engage in a similar question, right? And for geometry purposes, these are questions where the correspondence is not as clear. And we have two similar questions here that are pulled from the Regents Bank. And we'll see common errors that students make based on the correspondence, right? I think two more things that we might want to highlight in terms of just this topic, but not necessarily the routine here, is if we take a look at, if I take a look at the your turn triangles here, right? We're told a pair of angles that are congruent, right? We're told H is congruent to D. And if we take a look at the bigger picture without splitting up these two triangles, we could really see that we have the reflexive property here for angle R, right? And then by process of elimination, we can get the other two angles that are corresponding and build this correspondence map that can guide us through. So those are two things that you might want to highlight in terms of the topic. In terms of the routine, at this point, you're giving students this opportunity to engage in this question. And I would give them anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes, depending on where your class is with the topic. And then after that, we're going to give them a chance to self-reflect based on this answer. So for the your turn question, if I slide down here, the next step would be for them to analyze a model exemplar, right? And if I go back up here, right, we'll see it's the same exact question. So they're going to take a look at their work versus the model exemplar. And in this case, the model exemplar has the correct answer in here. And if you are choosing to do something yourself, there are plenty of resources that you could use, including Google Jamboard. You may want to utilize Desmos, taking a screenshot from there and modeling all these responses. And again, once again, you may use that Regents website with model exemplars and certain misconceptions mapped out. You might also want to explain to students the grading rubric, right? So here's a multiple choice question, but if we took away this multiple choice question, this would be a sample of a question that is most likely worth 2 points. And you could have these conversations with students about what is a conceptual error versus a computational error, and it really opens their eyes to how they're being graded. Because sometimes they walk out of an exam and they're really confused about why they didn't get a higher grade, and a lot of it is just due to knowing the rubric and really being clear on the expectations. So from here, we would have students analyze this model exemplar, and now we have a self-reflection rubric, right? So we're asking students to use the model exemplar above to check your work for any misconceptions you still have, right? And if we take a closer look at the self-reflection rubric, we're asking students to grade their understanding based on the rubric below and a reflection piece. So they're going to write what they received and explain why. You'll notice that this is a Marzano rubric. So Marzano rubrics are really focused on formative, not summative assessments. So we are not grading them like an exam here. We're grading them as if that this is the beginning of a class period, right? So we're focusing on if they're able to complete the full problem by themselves for a perfect score versus able to complete the full problem with the help of a friend for 1 level lower, or a 2 here instead of a 3. And then a 1 would be with help. They could partially understand a topic. And for 0 here, even with help, they're unable to understand a topic. So you can gauge where students are at based on their self-reflection. And you're giving them a chance to put their thoughts about their misconceptions or their understanding in writing here. And we could really use that to gauge some discourse as well. So as I share this, and I'm going to escape full screen, if it's something that you're interested in using, and I'll share this resource, you just click File, make a copy, and you could make it your own and modify to your needs. I hope you guys found this error analysis tool useful and something that you might look to incorporate into your lessons.